Hello, Mind Language listeners. Welcome. All right, so today, on day 4 of 12 Days of Christmas Magic, we have the wonderful Aurora light. And Aurora is a Joy Alchemist and Soul Embodiment guide that empowers visionary leaders to become conscious creators of their reality who are ready to take a platinum quantum leap ahead of their business and life using mindset, creative expression, and multidimensional mastery through belief, repattering, DNA activation, light language, joyful alchemy. She supports light leaders to remember who they are, connected with their soul essence, and transform everything holding them back from awakening their infinite potential. She bridges the intergalactic spiritual truths with practical action steps, integrating mind, body, and soul, and helps people go from fearing their spiritual gifts to activating the superpower of their own light. Aurora loves holding space for these epic transformations as a speaker, best-selling author, course creator, and mentor. Also, as well, is the founder of Joy Evolution and Dancing into Being. Likewise, she's the co-founder of Radiant Evolution Collective. Today, Joy is going to speak on being the Joyful Alchemy, holding that space. Please help me welcome Aurora Light. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Welcome.
It's so good to be here.
Yes. Thank you for joining us on such short notice on a Sunday. So we definitely appreciate it. So thank you.
You're welcome. It is a welcome chance to connect. Where I am right now, people are not really allowed to do much outside of their home, and it is icy and chilly outside. So this warm, welcoming environment is perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're so blessed to be able to have you with us. So tell us more about Joyful Alchemy.
Well, Joyful Alchemy is this process that I have developed for my own personal use, and then I have created it in what I would call my system to support people in basically transforming shit into gold. And I would be a zillionaire if I could do that in the physical. I'm talking about the energetic alchemy of taking all of the crap that life throws at us, our past traumas, all of the things that we felt that have held us back or that have happened to us, and shifting the mindset and perspective on them, and actually allowing that to be the very thing that points us in the direction that we want to go. And when we are able to shift that perspective into life is actually doing this for me, not to me, so that I can learn and grow, it actually becomes this rocket fuel that launches us into our deepest connection with who we really are and what we came here to do and be, right? We turn our pain into our purpose.
Fantastic. What would you say, let's say if someone's a completely beginner, what would you say would be the first step? Like, because ego will not allow you to think that you are in your own way.
Well, the very first thing is, let's talk about what the ego actually is, because there's a lot of misunderstanding. And this perspective, I think, is the first step to understanding who you are and what's happening in your body, mind, and soul. So the ego is not a bad thing. You hear or have heard for quite some time that we need to kill the ego. We hear about ego death. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but we don't want to kill our ego. Our ego is an essential part of our humanity, and it has been there to keep us alive, believe it or not. So what I think our ego needs is like a cookie and a hug and just this gratitude for having kept us alive. The thing about the ego is that it doesn't have all of the information. It doesn't have the visionary perspective of the soul. And so once we start to bring the light of our conscious awareness of our soul to what's happening, we realize that the program that the ego has been running is survive at all costs. So whatever the ego did that allowed us to survive one time, it's going to repeat. And the thing about surviving is it's just that. It is merely surviving. It doesn't matter if your soul takes damage. It doesn't matter if it causes like anxiety or, wrecks your life in other ways. You stayed alive. And that was the ego's sole purpose and goal. But most of us don't want to stay stuck in survival, right? That's not what life is about. And so when we're wanting to move out of all of that old survival stuff, what getting out of our own way looks like to me is actually connecting in with the higher self or our soul energy that does have more perspective, like a visionary perspective. It's literally a higher vantage point from outside of our life, from outside of our perspective of just what's happening right now. And when we zoom out like that, then we're able to start to connect in with the fact that all of the crap that has been occurring, again, what we might perceive as to us, has actually been opportunities given to us to learn and grow. Because humans, without catalysts, without something to spur us on to growth, we get kind of lazy, right? And so we do need pressure. You could imagine a diamond needs pressure. That carbon needs it to be squeezed so tight in order to become a diamond. And we are literally carbon-based life forms. So we too need pressure. We need outside circumstances to forge us into the beings that we came here to be. And that's the thing, the soul and the higher self knows that we are eternal, we're immortal, we are not just this life. And so we actually sign up for these soul lessons, which can be a really hard pill to swallow. Like, what? I asked for this? Not consciously. You consciously did not. And there is nothing that you have done in this life to deserve things that have happened to you. I'm not talking about that at all. From the zoomed out perspective of being a soul, infinite energy that wants to learn and grow, we come to a planet like this to have experiences that are going to hold us in the fire, because that is how we learn the most quickly. That is how we learn really effectively. And that is how we're able to really level up. And that leveling up is part of our evolutionary journey as beings of light. So I guess that was a very long answer to your question about the first step. But for me, it's all about shifting out of the perspective of staying down here, stuck in this life, and taking a breath. And if we can, doing that zoom out. And I just want to back up a little bit, because sometimes we can't even do that. There's one step that I forgot. We need to get out of fight and flight to be able to even take that breath and zoom out to that higher perspective. And so what my favorite way of doing that is just to take a breath, right? To slow down. When we slow down our nervous system and we start to be able to elevate our vibrational frequency out of fear, like terror, guilt, whatever that fight or flight is that's making us feel really condensed and scared and collapse in on ourselves, or anxious and wanting to flee, when we slow down and we're able to move trauma, shake out energy, there's a million ways we can do it. Through literally moving, through body work, through hypnosis, through EFT. My favorite's Belief Re-pattering, a zillion different ways. And we start to elevate our vibrational frequency, then we can start to see that perspective. So we can't just say, okay, zoom out. We need to do some calming of our nervous system in order to be able to literally do that with our perception.
Fantastic. That is amazing plethora of knowledge. When someone zooms out for the first time, what is the difference they're going to feel? Or in your experience, what have people shared with you that they've felt? So in my experience, when I'm having a bad time, like in life, like, you know, we've all been there, right? Where we feel as though things are happening to us, and that's what triggered like my self-development journey. However, like when I was there, and then when I did zoom up, like so much better. But like, what is your experience?
Mm. Well, at first there's relief. There's peace that comes. That's the very first thing. Because as we're zooming out and up, we're starting to connect with that higher self, where really the only thing is love, right? So we feel that essence calming the body, but it also becomes a little bit more exciting, optimistic, and hopeful. I feel that for me personally, it's also helped me turn the idea of the obstacles that are in my life into just an opportunity. They could be a stepping stone to the next thing. And what really supports both my clients and myself to get to that point as well is to think about past experiences, right? To give us that hindsight and thinking about, for example, most of us don't wind up with the very first person that we have a crush on, for example. Perhaps the first person that we date or that we like. And at the time when that's not either reciprocated or it ends, we're crushed. We're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. And we also have a lot in the media that tells us that we should be devastated and go to bed and eat ice cream for several days because it's the worst thing that ever happened to us. And we get that program in our heads from a lot of different reasons. But I'm really glad I didn't wind up with the very first person that I had a crush on.
Ditto.
I'm really glad, right? Like, I'm really, 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 really grateful for that.
Yes.
Because we need contrast, we need perspective, we have these learning experiences, we grow from the mistakes. They're not really mistakes. They're just these growth and learning experiences, because you can't know what you don't know, right? We have to go through experiences to learn and be like, okay, I don't like this. That was a deal breaker. This was pretty good. So I'm going to look for more of that, right? We need contrast. We need things to suck so we can go, no, I'd rather choose something else, right? And then we can be in this place of gratitude for the lessons, gratitude for the breakup, gratitude for the I didn't settle for the very first person that I met. And that gratitude is what is the secret sauce, I think, in shifting things. Being able to have gratitude for the crises, gratitude for the lessons. There are so many stories. Everybody's hero journey has some kind of gratitude of, I'm so glad that I went through this traumatic event because I became the person that I am today. When you see motivational speakers, people that have battled cancer or amputees or things like that, this is the narrative arc of their journey, right? And when we start to keep that in the forefront of our mind, then when a crisis happens, when a problem occurs, we can maybe approach it instead of having to go through with it like, this is happening to me, from that slightly zoomed out place of, okay, what is this going to be teaching me? What is the lesson here? And we don't have to go through as much of the ick, like the awfulness, because we start to align with that zoomed out perspective. And what that gives us, the best thing ever, it's resilience. Like, we can make it through anything because we are expecting to. We trust ourselves to move through problems and opportunities, and life really responds to what it is that we are expecting, right? Our expectations create reality. Our perception creates reality. So we're like, okay, it's going to be tricky. There's going to be challenges, but I can do this. That gives you wings, right? You can start to fly.
Yes, very much so. I definitely agree. So when we zoom out, is it, for those that are able to, would it be better to have a coach or a helper or someone along with them in their journey? In my experience, it's always been better to have a coach or like a partner, or even an accountability partner, you know, when you're in business. So what would be what would be best to take if you're brand new and you haven't done this before? What would you suggest?
Well, first things first, you can do everything alone, right? That is possible. But when we try to reinvent the wheel, we get a wheel. When we utilize other people's experiences, then we can actually build on and grow from that. And we don't have to make all the mistakes that they made. So whether or not you do some research and you read books, you watch YouTube videos, and you have information coming to you that way, that's great. The next level of that, I think, is having someone hold space for you. It can be friends, it could be mentors, it can be coaches, therapists. I mean, we're social creatures for a reason. When somebody is supporting us and holding space for us, which to me just means like being in this area where they are literally allowing you to go through the process, not necessarily telling you how you should do it, but saying, here are some examples from my life of what has worked for me. Take it and do what you like with it. Then again, we get those wings. Instead of just working on our wheel, we can get that rocket ship to the moon. When I started actually working, instead of just in like taking courses and reading books, which I was always obsessed with, but when I started working with like mentors in group programs or 101, like my life and my business again skyrocketed because I was getting that support that I didn't even know that I needed. Because I grew up in a childhood, like a lot of us, I don't think we got the support that we actually craved and needed. And this magical thing that I learned is you can actually give it to yourself and not need other people to give it to you. And then you can go out and you can seek the support. You can invest in the support. Paying for it sounds a little weird, but what I think about is like investing in having the support that you crave and desire so you feel completely held and safe. Like that was probably the biggest game changer in my life.
Yes, I definitely agree. And if to add to that, investing in yourself, you're going to receive 10 times the value.
Oh my gosh, that's one of the laws of the universe now. It used to be, here's a cool thing. It used to be, it would come back to you in 3. Have you heard that old saying? Like what you
Yes.
give out, you get back. But the energy has shifted on the planet. Things are speeding up. Maybe you've noticed things are shifting and changing more quickly than ever. And there's more light coming in, which makes it look chaotic, right? It looks like the worst because all the shadowy things are now being illuminated. But the level of consequences for our actions has also increased on the planet. And that's for both, so quote unquote, bad things, right? But also good things. So what you are receiving back is multiplied by actually like 1,000-fold now.
Fantastic.
So you're getting what you're
Yes.
giving. But like it is, manifestations are speeding up. The ability for us to connect in with people that resonate with us is speeding up, like everything. But it also means some destruction of things that are not in alignment much more quickly. So we're seeing things being created and destroyed with so much more speed, but also ease. So it's a really exciting time.
Fantastic. That triggered a memory. So I believe that you had stated that you had a 12 with the 1212 portal yesterday. Did you have a ceremony, and was that something that people could go and view, or was that in a collective group?
Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you for asking, and great memory. So the 1212 ceremony that I did was with the Playground membership, which has been created by the Radiant Evolution Collective that I have co-founded with some dear sisters of mine who are amazing space holders and facilitators. So we went in and we did some breath and movement and meditation, soul journeying, light language, all of these different tools to connect us in more deeply to ourselves. And it was in a more sacred container than just a live Facebook group. I do a ton of ceremonies and activations in my free Facebook group, the Radiant Evolution Collective. But when we want to go really deep, we have to go in a space where we're not going to have people coming in and out. as happens on Facebook Lives and things like that. So it was really potent and powerful. And it was actually the opening ceremony for the playground that we've created, which is this monthly membership site where we're just throwing in all of the things that have supported us in being able to raise our vibe, zoom out to that place where we're like, hey, we're infinite beings of light and we came here to create and play, and it doesn't have to suck so hard. And create a community. That's the other thing about having coaches, investing, like whatever you do, it's about finding community that gets you, that wants to do this too, and people that want to shift their perspective. And one of the communities I'm a part of calls it, instead of say recreationally complaining, let's be recreationally grateful, right? And just shower gratitude and celebration on each other and into our conversations. And it shifts everything too. So just finding like-minded people.
Yes, yes. To back up a little bit, for those that don't know what the 1212 portal is, do you have a description of what's going on? And then maybe if you want to touch on 1221 also.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Most exciting time to be alive. As we've talked about, things are happening and they're happening quickly. So we're in the process of dismantling the old stuff that doesn't work, because we can't fully build new systems without having some tear down of the old. And that can look like things falling apart. It can look like things being burned to the ground. And it's a lot. But we are now moving into a time where humanity is being able to access more of that light I was talking about that's streaming in by going in and meeting themselves. So this wave of connecting more deeply with who we are started, well, a long time ago, but really kicked it up a notch on 11/11. Yesterday on the 12/12, that we entered into a deeper part that's going to continue into the solstice. Some people, like Sandra Walters, are calling it a revelation wave, right? Where veils are being lifted. I've heard it being called the avatar window. What came through for me is this ability to go in to expand, right? Where we're getting to connect in with who we are at the core, rather than all the facades, all of the programs, all of the things that we have thought we were, and letting that all fall away. As we are moving into that solstice time, the 12, 21, 22 area, we're able to really shift gears. We can plant the seeds for 2021, which is going to be a different kind of year, because humanity as a whole is elevating their frequency so much higher. We're actually pulling out of the density over this time right now. And so a lot is needing to fall away. All of that old shit has to fall away because we can't bring it with us. And in 2021, we're going to have this opportunity to create in new ways. This is really exciting for people who are doing the work, who are willing to let things go, but people that are out of balance, people that are not living in their own alignment or integrity with who they really are and what their values are going to find life is going to continue to pummel them, right? Because of those consequences that we talked about, right? Like things are speeding up. So instant karma, you do something to harm yourself or others, like it's going to come back to you, but also the opposite. So we're moving into this amazing, potent creation energy of infinite possibility where so many restrictions are taken off and we're able to really connect in with the magical essence of who we are as creator beings incarnate. It's so exciting.
Fantastic. Yes. And we've been studying, like the laws of the universe within my family, and whatever I learn, I teach to my children. And the emotional intelligence, I have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old, and the 12-year-old doesn't like to share toys, well, neither of them do, but he had taken away a Lego, some creation that he had built, or it was something, he had taken it away from my daughter, and then he dropped it. And so it instantly broke. And it was kind of like, well, it's kind of karma, right? So you were being mean and then you took it away, and then karma, it was instant karma. So yeah, definitely.
And the languaging, I just want to be clear, a lot of karma is actually dissolving for a lot of people. So it's really more like instant consequences. But yes, like that's what it feels like, is we don't have to wait for like another lifetime to reap what we sow. It's all coming to us now. And I've noticed that with my daughter as well. If she does something like rude, and she's only 4, so you know, if she hits one of us, she'll go and she'll like automatically fall over and hurt herself. And it's like, wow, okay, well,
Right, right.
I know.
I know.
And part of it is just when we're doing those things, it lowers our vibration and it spins us into that place where we're so magnetic, right? Like the things are being brought to us based upon our vibrational frequency. So when we're spinning in the like, I took this, it's mine, that's that separation, that's us versus them mentality, instead of that higher, like unified experience. And so it is amazing to witness, but I just want to say, yay, teaching your children emotional intelligence and literacy and universal laws. Like, that's amazing.
Yes, yes. It's been a long journey. My son is actually the reason why I've gone on this growth journey. I started in 2013. The school wanted to put him, the school nurse told me I had to put him on medication, which is illegal. And I didn't know any better. But I knew deep in my heart that if I put him on medication, it would stifle him. And so we did, it's a long story, but he has anything that what I need to, the missing piece that where we are in our journey is his superpowers are energy. And he has extraordinary amounts of energy. And so it comes out of his hands and his feet. And so I think, like, and this is a really big claim, but I think he could potentially be like, I think the person's name is called John of God, who had helped Dr. Wayne Dyer get rid of it. I think it was a leukemia, where he had done a remote healing session, like a remote surgery, because it's literally that much. And when he's on a negative or just even some slight negative vibration, like he breaks toys and things like it, but he doesn't try to, like they just break when he is even near them. And so I finally recently just figured it out. I'm like, this is kind of like, like Spider-Man or Superman, where they can, go somewhere and like, but their energy is, I just need to polar it, and I don't know how to polar it. So that's where I'm at in my journey. But I think once we figure that out, it's going to be like, ooh. But he's definitely been my number one goal in life is to help him be successful. And so we've gone to like a whole bunch of different like seminars, and we've gone to the NLP certification training, and like we've gone to Jack Canfield and Gary Vaynerchuk, and like, because at 7 he wanted to know what his life purpose was. It's super intense. And so totally I'm like supporting him all the way, like let's figure it out. Maybe that'll like switch the energy from being so negative and you can't do this, and focus on the negative to positive. But it's definitely a growing experience. Yes. You do anything for your children,
right?
yes.
Oh my goodness, I love that you are supporting him and harnessing that energy, because with that great power comes great responsibility. And so
Yes.
So beautiful. And our kids do come to be our greatest teachers too, for sure.
Definitely, yes, because I used to feed him McDonald's like every day, and then I would wonder why we spent like 2 hours at the McDonald's playland, and then we came home and he had more energy. And so then like I had to learn and grow and like understand, because I'm not a medical, medical stuff just evades me. I think it's because I don't want to understand it. But like knowing, like gluten, and that McDonald's wasn't actually real food. And so like we don't eat McDonald's anymore. Like if we do eat out, it's at a healthier place. So it's definitely, it isn't just like the one aspect of like, it's all like we had to go the whole gamut of like everything. So, but we are not on medication. And we've been homeschooling. This year we're doing distance learning, and it is definitely challenging, but it's better. Like he has the emotional maturity. It's still room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Joyful Alchemy, do you have a class, or is there a course, or what is available? Like what is included in that, and what is available?
So we really spoke on the first part, the transformation piece of Joyful Alchemy. I'll just share quickly that the other aspects of it, we wove into there because it's impossible to connect, to disconnect them. But after the transforming piece, it's that aligning with our highest self. And then the embodiment is the most important part to me, where we actually be the creator beings, right? We speak and create and do from that aligned with our highest self place. And so I weave all of this, the Joyful Alchemy, into all of the programs that I run and offer, everything from one-on-ones with high-level entrepreneurs that want to bring their spiritual gifts more into their business, to the playground that we have, where that's a monthly membership where people can access 2 ceremonies a month where we're going deep like that, but also light language, belief re-patterning, soul journaling, meditations. Like, it's an amazing offering for people that are just wanting to dive into the experience fully. Then I have other programs like my next level manifestation course, where I teach more of the theory and the practice behind being able to be a creator being. And that's a self-study program that is just so I can, when I work with people one-on-one, I'm like, take this first so you understand what it is we're doing, and then we can really activate it personally. There'll be light language courses coming up too. I just love doing all of the things and supporting people in as many ways as I can.
Yes, yes, that's fantastic. Being able to share your knowledge it's priceless. It really is. When someone has figured it out, and then there's someone that's wanting to figure it out, it's, thank you for sharing your passion and your knowledge.
Oh my goodness. It would hurt me to not. it would be so
Yes.
painful, right? Like, I am a Sagittarius sun, so like my favorite thing to do is like collect experiences, knowledge, energy, play with it, and then be like, here, look what I learned, and it's amazing.
Oh,
You
right.
can't not.
Fantastic. So then, is your birthday coming up then?
No, it was actually last week.
Oh, fantastic. Well, happy birthday. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
You're
It
so
was
very
very
welcome.
chill, and that's all I wanted, because I have been actually working really full tilt ever since the pandemic hit. I was actually previously working as an artist in residence, mostly teaching some of the mindset and some of the spiritual stuff, but mostly through alignment, through movement, circus, gymnastics, dance, because that was another passion of mine, to really create through our bodies. But I always knew that I had to pivot into really going into the spiritual stuff. But I loved what I was doing so much. It was a dream business I built. And then last summer solstice, I got this download that said, okay, it's time. Like, build the online business, switch from working with kids, do one-on-ones and groups and teach classes. But don't worry, the in-person stuff will come back. You can do retreats, but just focus on online for now. And so I built for 9 months behind the scenes of my full-time teaching in-person business, this online platform for myself, figured out how I was going to share it. And then COVID hit, and I was like, ooh, okay, I get it. Thank you, higher self, for sharing with me what I needed to do to be prepared for this time. And so it's amazing, because I'm like, look at what that did for me. Like, I was able to pivot and move with the flow of energy. And so now I'm able to teach people like why it's important to listen to those intuitive downloads, even when they don't make sense, because we don't have the higher perspective. That higher perspective does, though, and it can guide us. And we're not going to get the whole journey, right? But we do get the next right thing and the next right thing. So supporting people and trusting themselves enough to take the courageous, sometimes crazy action steps is so important to me. Because if we all did that, I honestly believe if everybody in the world connected with their visionary higher self and then did the things it was sharing with us to do, our world would instantly shift, right? What would
Yes.
this world look like if people were not going from that survival ego place? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're coming into this next year and years. More and more people are learning how to do that. And that's why we're co-creating like literally a whole new planet. We're going to be seeing so much amazing technology and social programs and shifts and changes, because people are learning how to do that. And now, like, we're literally in a time that it's becoming more and more possible to do that, like with so much more ease. The stuff that I've been working on and learning for 20 years, people can pick up in a matter of months.
Exactly. And that's fascinating. So I had been like I've been studying since 2008, like the next economy correction. And so I am so like proud of you that you listened and you were ready, because I didn't. And so I'm like, man, that's so cool. This is like phenomenal. And then it was perfect timing. And these are the stories like I love listening to or hearing, and or that's the type of person that I would invest in, because I was like, wow, you did it, and I didn't. Like, man, okay, I need to know what you know, because like you knew how to listen. And even though it wasn't like consciously it wasn't the right thing, you're like, no, but I really love this business that I built. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna listen. I'm just gonna do this kind of, like at my leisure. It sounded like, from behind the scenes. And then when you were ready, it was perfect timing. Like, oh, angels singing, like gates opening. Like, this is so cool. Like, I totally was like, no, you guys, we can't stop what we're doing. Like, no, we're fine. Like, so I like, and what has triggered me to go back into like, okay, you're getting caught in the trenches, like you're better than this. And I know that I'm not like an activist, and that's not my thing. I'm like a happy joy person, like, like yeah, yeah, rah rah, and cheerleader. And but I was like, no, we can't do this. Like, we shouldn't, like, shut down the world. Like, what are we doing? No, this isn't okay. And then I went to an NLP class. Like, I had taken my son to the NLP seminar, and then I was like, all right, I'm back on track. Like, I needed that reset to, like, totally decompress and get rid of all the negative stuff I had heard from like March until August. And so I had forgiven myself for that. Like, I was like, stuck on like, oh man, that's terrible. I, wasted 5 months that could have been, helping people, which is like my personality type is a helper. So, but yeah, that I'm like in awe. That's fantastic. Like, how synchronistic that you listened and it was like perfect timing. That's see, congratulations, you.
Well, thank you. But I have to share that, I mean, again, I've been on this journey actually since, like my entire life, actually, because I was born with more of a connection to spirit. I always knew that, but it was a series of learning how to listen, learning how to trust and listen, and removing trauma and everything like that. But there was a point in time that I did not listen. I wasn't listening to what I needed. I wasn't hearing it. And so what spirit did was it took me out. It was just a broken ankle, but that was the catalyst I needed that time to actually understand that, oh, actually dance is how I am supposed to help and heal the world. That's how I am supposed to do teaching, right? And it was only at 27 when I broke my ankle that I realized because I've been looking for the thing, how am I going to help? How am I going to teach? How am I going to do all the things that I love? And then I decided to be a dance teacher after that. And I shifted my entire life from that shitty experience. It hurt a lot. It sucked. I couldn't work, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And that is joyful alchemy. It's understanding those worst things can turn into the best things because they're the pivot points. And so that was like 2009. So I learned at that point, okay, if spirit's giving me a message, I better listen. Right? And I didn't listen all the next times. I had other incidents. Like, I have practiced this. So nobody needs to be perfect at it right away. But when you do start to listen, when you do practice, I mean, I had the most abundant month of my life, second month of the pandemic. And I have had the most abundant year of my life in my business this year, when people are losing their livelihoods. And that's not to say that I don't feel awful for that. I just know what taking aligned action has done for me. And it just keeps building and it just keeps getting better.
Exactly. Yes. And congratulations again. That's
Oh.
so stinking cool. In in closing, do you have any final words for someone who maybe they aren't able to invest in someone, in a partner, or maybe maybe they're just really in that down and out situation, the worst situation I've ever been in, or the worst situation you're in, they happen to catch this, and it's for you and I, we will know it's meant to be, but for them, maybe they wouldn't, and they're still listening this far into the interview. What would you have to say to them?
You're doing a fantastic job just by surviving, right? Just by being here and being alive. You have all of the opportunity in the world to do what it is that you came here to do. But also part of that is just being where you're at right now. Like honoring and acknowledging that sometimes the shitty parts, they do suck so bad. The thing is, we need to honor it, feel it, but then not get stuck in it, right? So give yourself some time, rest, fill yourself up to the point by doing things that you love, like give when you can, even if that's just like listening to music you love, right? It doesn't have to cost anything. But the most important thing right now is self-care, the kind that lifts your vibrational frequency. And some of it means putting in some work to prep yourself. And if you keep doing that, if you keep lifting up your frequency by giving yourself the time, investing the time in doing the things that make you feel good, you will start to lift out of those feelings. And you will start to be then at a frequency where you'll be able to see some of the solutions. And then you'll start to be magnetic to the people and the places and the opportunities that are going to help you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aurora. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for sharing and pouring into us, and thank you for your time and your energy. We really appreciate you. We will go ahead and Aurora's information and her courses, contact information, courses, website are going to be above or below. And I believe that there's some, for those of you who aren't able to invest, just go ahead, check it out. I think there are some a blog, free information, free content above or below, or excuse me, on the website, but the links will be above or below, whichever social media this is posted on platform. And we will come back again. You'll have to come back again, and we can talk business then next time.
Ooh,
yes.
My favorite thing, yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. And we will go ahead and wish everybody a good day, and thank you for listening. Have a good night, guys.